Hello again, whiskey friends. I'm Darrell, the Whiskey Saint. Thanks for joining for another Whiskey Wednesday review, guys. This one's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about a brand that I wasn't familiar with, a little over a month ago. Once I heard who they were distilling from and the ages that they were using in some of these bottles, I was like, holy crap, I need to try one of these. So, guys, what we're going to be talking about today and reviewing is a bottle from Clyde May's. It's a 13-year Alabama style bourbon. I'll let you know what they mean by that. Stick with me. Stay tuned. We're going to kick this show right off. Cheers. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. This one's going to be fun. Like I said, I did dive into this bottle a couple times just to, kind of get my bearings around it because it is a little different. If you're used to that standard MGP profile, this is definitely not going to taste like that. But I found this to be absolutely delicious. We're going to dive in with you guys, give you a couple tasting notes, then we'll pop up the review score sheet so you can kind of see how it tracked in terms of, everything about it. But this is definitely different, but different in a very good way, in my opinion, if you guys haven't tried it already. But got a little poured up already, guys. A nice little summer jam. Glenn, if you can see that. Or Kenzie, should I say. Thanks, Jason. Cheers, guys. Going in on the nose. Yeah, so right off the rip, if I didn't know, if I was tasting this blind, there's no way I would even think this is MGP, like whatsoever. There's like, besides maybe like a slight, like orangey citrus note, that would be the only thing that would remotely remind me of MGP. Like it is completely different. Normally, I would be getting like that honey, that graham cracker, heavy vanilla with some oak. And that's what is kind of like the telltale for me typically with most MGP. This right now is just super bright, citrus forward. Dude, just pears, oranges, a little malty in a sense. I'm not sure what the mash bill is. They don't mention it on here. All I do know is it's 13-year, and when they say like that Alabama style, what they do is they age this obviously for 13 years. It says distilled age for 13 years in charred American oak barrels. Then what I've seen in red is that they finish it with oven dried apples in another barrel, which I'm guessing contributes to the fruit factor that you get on this nose. Like it's pretty nuts. Enough of the nose. Let's go in for a taste, guys. Yeah, that's wild. First sip, heavy vanilla. It's almost like vanilla frosting mixed in with peaches, oranges, just all those literally orange colored fruits. You get some tangerine in there, all that sweetness, orange peel. Just it's so bright for MGP. I'm used to it being darker, oakier, but you do get a heavy oak presence on there. Like the 13 years, you can definitely tell this is well-aged whiskey. But it's just so bright and off profile for me, which, like I said, I don't mind at all, guys. Like this is tasty. Yeah, flavors are still sitting on my tongue right now. First sip was really nice. Let's go in for another sip. Second sip is even better, guys. Literally everything is just sitting on the sides of my tongue and the sides of my mouth, just coating it really, really nicely. I wouldn't say that the whiskey is super viscous, but it does sit on your tongue and your mouth nicely. Like you're not really getting too long of legs. You can maybe see some of it hanging there, but typically on some whiskey, you'll just see it just dripping from, the rim. But this sticks to your mouth nicely. It's not super oily, but yeah, definitely just coats the mouth pretty nice and just sits there. Like I still have those flavors on my tongue right now. Really, really nice. Let's go in for one more sip. Yeah, I can't say it enough. Don't buy this bottle thinking you're going to get the standard MGP profile. This thing is absolutely fantastic as it is, but it's definitely different than what you're going to be used to. I was like, holy crap, 13-year MGP. I had some Pingree picks that were 13 and 15 years that blew my mind, which I was thinking this was going to taste similar to that. As good as this is, it doesn't taste anything like those, but it can definitely hang. It can definitely hang. I'm not going to say it's better than Pingree. I don't think it is, but it's a completely different profile that I find very, very tasteful. Very tasteful. Yeah, just if you like getting like fruit notes on whiskey, then I think you'll definitely enjoy this. I actually have a scotch that reminds me of this so much. And some of the tasting notes on that bottle that I'm speaking of actually talks about apricots and pears and apples, which this has on some of the description. It talks about the same thing. So those apples, but being it finished in, some dried apples in another barrel, gives it that taste. But it's very, very similar to a scotch that I had, which is kind of nuts because that's 100% malt versus this being a bourbon, which is pretty nuts. But I would, off of thinking, like I would think I would mix them up. I would obviously have to blind them to know, but they taste very, very similar. Yeah, this nose is fantastic too. Just super cakey vanilla frosting with just a burst of fruit. It's almost like the taste, like when you put this in your mouth, it's like biting into some gushers. Like you just get a fruit explosion of flavor, front, mid, back of the palate. The finish is lovely at 120 proof. It's kind of expected, but it just lingers. One more sip, guys, then we're going to pull up the score chart for this. Yeah, really can't even say anything bad about it. Maybe mid palate. I wouldn't even say it's flat. Maybe it just kicked off turned it down slightly, but it picks right back up. Can't even really say that. Like it's just steady flavor. The front of the palate, I wouldn't say was muted, but it definitely kicks up mid, goes down a little bit, then kicks right back up on the finish. It's like a roller coaster, but it's steady in a good place. It never goes flat. It doesn't get dull, but it just leaves me wanting to literally take another sip, even though the finish is still there and it's just sitting on my tongue. I just want to keep picking up the glass and going back at it. Oh, this is tasty. This is tasty. So let's pull up the chart on this, guys. So we had scored this a 87, and if you look at or have been following us for a while, like mid to high 80s are fantastic bottles. Like you're not going to see anything under that or put it this way, anything in that range, you're going to be like, holy crap, those are some of my unicorns. Like bottles like that, like 87 is a really high score for us. We got a few bottles, maybe less than 10, or if that, in the 90s. But I want to say the lowest score this year in my top 10, I believe, was right around like an 84. So that says a lot. This may actually move into my top 10 once I start reevaluating everything for the rest of this year. says a lot about this whiskey. And at the price point, like I said, it's relatively cheap. But if you look at these scores, we don't have anything under an 8. We have a 1, 2, 3 8s and the rest 9s. Nose on the front end of it. You do get some nice flavors, but you get more depth. So that's why I have that at an 8, the depth at a 9, because it's just super concentrated. It's oaky, slightly complex, versus just pulling those notes right on the front of the flavor or the front of the nose on it. Front palate, mouthfeel, have it at an 8. Like, you do get hit with a bunch of fruit, bunch of flavors, but like I said, it kicks it up mid palate a lot nicer than what it does, or a lot more, should I say, than it does on the front. I do have the mid palate complexity being an 8. So you lose a little bit of that depth, but the flavors are just super, super present, which keeps me at a 9 on the initial flavor on the palate. But you look at, finish, like I said, this at 120 proof, it definitely drinks 120 proof, but those fruit flavors kind of mellow it down a bit. But it's a 9 for me for the rest of the way. Like, this is really, really good whiskey. We look at the overall balance construction. I've never had a bottle like this. This is the first Clyde Mays I had. The whole dried apple finish in another barrel is all new to me, but I can definitely get on board with this. Value, I believe the bottle was $130 or so, which is right around that 10-year per dollar, or $10 per year, that everybody talks about, which I think 10-year or $10 per year for MGP is an absolutely fantastic price if you can, consistently buy them at that, especially 13 years. Like, you're not really seeing many companies put out MGP at this age. Like, I really can't I can't even put a handful out there right now, this year or even last year, that's putting out, MGP that's probably over 10 years, to be honest. But this right here, this is really, really good. Like I said, guys, total of 87. We'll skip over to this slide here. You look at the flavor, 87, experience 86, total value at 90. Like I said, $130, a little pricey, but for 13-year MGP, I think it's worth every penny. Like I said, you're not going to go out there and find some 13-year MGP for cheaper than this. I challenge you to do that, unless you're finding like some crazy MGP pingery like at retail, which is unheard of. But yeah, not a lot of companies are doing it. With that being said, guys, I think this is worth a pickup if you see it lying around. I'm not sure when this actually came out. Everything that I've researched showed 2020. But that's a little odd that it would be sitting in a store, 3 years later. Is it possible? Yes. I'm just not sure if they, created a 13-year since. And I know that was the first one they did, but supposedly they were supposed to get a year older each year, which would put this at 2016, or sorry, a 16-year is what it should have been for 2023. But this is fantastic whiskey, guys. Like I said, if you do see it, I think it's worth the pickup. Scored an 87 for me, which may bump it into my top 10 for this year. So thanks for sticking with me, guys. We're going to end it here. See what we do next week. May do some blinds, may do some unicorns. We'll keep you guessing. But cheers. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. Till next time.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with